Folks, here we are live, Clemson Sports News and CUTigers.com. Gary and Trevor here at the Esso Club live. We've got a special guest today. He's got to leave here in a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and call him in. But Paul is the president of the Gridiron Club from BC. They've been having their party here for like 15 years at the Esso Club. But Paul, come on in here and say hello to everybody. Say hello to everybody at Clemson Sports News. And Paul, tell us a little bit about your club and what you guys have been doing.
Certainly, thank you so much. Yeah. So Boston College got in the ACC in 2005. We've been coming down here since 05. The Esso Club is our home away from home. On Friday afternoons, a football weekend. Charles Ushery, the owner, and the folks at the Esso Club have welcomed us every other year since 05. We won in 05, 06, and 07. And in 08, I looked at my guys and I said, you know what? These people are the nicest people we've ever played with or against college football. We just beat them 3 years in a row, and they keep telling us, so glad to have you, so glad you're here, congratulations for coming. We developed the O'Rourke McFadden Trophy basically to celebrate the Clemson fans for their camaraderie and welcoming us to the ACC. No other fan base in the ACC or college football has treated us like the Clemson fans.
Everyone does week over there. I mean, every trips up the Chestnut Hill is just gorgeous, especially this time of year.
It's a great partnership. Look, it's not a rivalry. You guys play South Carolina, that's your rival. You hate them. You play Georgia, that's a closer team, an SEC team. You dislike them. We are the city mouse. You guys are the country mouse. You come to Boston, you have a ball. We come to Clemson, we have an absolutely spectacular time. The grass is greener, the beer is colder, the steaks are bigger, and the girls are prettier. It's just a great place to come to play football.
We appreciate you guys coming down. I tell you, the hottest game I ever saw was, I guess, was Matt.
2005.
2005.
Oh my God, that was like a roaster.
I
and the hit that Dunham put on Matt that day was like.
If you remember, we thought he knocked his head off. It was only his helmet, but it could have been his head.
David Dunham.
Yeah, Dunham. Never be forgotten.
Linebacker.
And you know, that was Matt Ryan's first game he was coming in for the
Absolutely.
And nobody had ever heard of Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan was
played like
Now
Matt Ryan.
Matt's been how long with the Falcons? Super Bowl appearance.
11 or 12 years.
Yeah, that's Super Bowl
Absolutely.
I remember thinking, who is this backup guy? He's playing like the
you know what?
Heisman.
So we're so excited. This is a great opportunity for us to go from 4-0 to 5-0. We haven't been 5-0 since Matt Ryan's senior year in 2007. So it's been a long time.
That's a great team. Yeah,
it was a good team.
The running back.
They've had so many over the years. It's ridiculous.
So Andre Callender.
That's the man.
Andre Callender caught a long pass in one of those games, to bring us in close for a touchdown. 2007, Matty Ryan threw that touchdown pass to Richie Gunnell.
Yep,
you guys got the ball back.
Aaron Kelly
Number 80, Aaron Kelly, All-American tight end.
All-time leading Clemson reception.
Drops a pass through his hands at about the 3-yard line.
Yep.
And then you guys had a chance to tie the game with a field goal.
I've never seen a guy more open though than that tight end.
No, he was unbelievable. He was unbelievable.
It was a bootleg action to the right.
Yeah. But Matty scrambled around a little to get the ball.
Like a minute and a half left.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Like 60 yards in the air.
Yeah. Then we developed the trophy, and now we can't get the damn trophy back from Dabo.
You know that?
Who the first one? Was it CJ still won the first?
Yeah, CJ won the first trophy. And the win against Boston College on November 1st up in BC was Dabo's first win as a coach, as an interim coach at Clemson University. I've been in his locker room now for 13 years. He has changed the culture of this place.
I tell you, that was also one of the coldest games I've ever been to.
Yes,
Dabo's
sir.
first win up in BC 2008.
November 1st.
I was in the nosebleed.
I bet it was. I bet the wind was blowing.
Hot or cold? You guys
No,
come here, it's
cold.
always so hot.
Cold.
There, it's always so cold.
No, it's cold.
I had just got my MBA from Clemson. I started a Clemson degree that previous May.
Yes.
So a bunch of my friends from grad school and I sat up in the nosebleed.
Yep.
It was the day after Halloween.
Yes, it
All
was.
Saints Day.
Yes, it was.
And man, we were freezing cold. especially after it was a 3:30 game, it got dark. Oh man, we were freezing.
That's why they call it the Heights.
Well, hey, tell us about this year's team and what excites you about this year's
so
team.
we're 4-0. The most exciting thing about this team is the head football coach, Jeff Hafley.
Agreed.
Jeff Hafley has taken Dabo as a little bit of a mentor and a model. They've become acquaintances and a little bit more than almost friends from the ACC, the media days. Dabo spent a little time with Jeff. They text back and forth. We do a radio show on Wednesday night. He said to us, he said, I love Dabo. He says, Dabo's my mentor. That's what I want to do for Boston College. He changed the culture of Clemson. You guys know that. We have an opportunity with Jeff Hafley to change the culture of Boston College.
And of course, they went head-to-head against each other.
They did.
Ohio
Ohio State against Clemson. Great respect there.
Also, you're always going to get the Boston College as a pro team.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a pro city. You got to fight the Patriots, the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, and maybe the Revolution. So, you know, it's tough to get eyes. It's tough to get print. You come down here.
The alumni spreads out pretty far.
Yeah, we spread out, but you come to Clemson. The only game in town is Clemson football.
Yeah,
the next closest game is Gamecock football. That's 2 hours away.
Right. They say around here the biggest two sports are football and then
spring
recruiting.
football. No, spring football.
Football recruiting.
That's
right.
it. Absolutely. So, no. If we had our starting quarterback, Phil Jerkovic, the kid who transferred in from Notre Dame, then I think the spread tomorrow is not 18 points or 15 points, it's probably 7 points.
But then Gorzel,
Well, Dennis is fine.
he has some starting experience.
Yeah, he does. He's a preferred walk-on who's been given a scholarship. He's a baseball player. He's a pretty good baseball player. He's tough. He's respected by his teammates. He's a good leader.
He's not your coach.
Well, no, but that's not Djokovic. He can't hit the windows of the
Again,
ACC.
you got to remember Djokovic's experience level, what he did last year.
Yes.
Really impressed a lot. We saw this coming. Progression was coming. It hurt us all. It's going to go down in week 2, was it, right?
Yeah, week 2, first series against UMass.
And
Broke his wrist.
Against a team he never needed to play.
No, didn't even need to hardly play against. So it is what it is. You know what? I got 85 scholarships. Let's dress them all. Let's go play. Let's go see what happens.
Of course, on the Clemson side, you got no Brazil, no Shipley.
No,
so
we'll take it.
I tell you,
We'll take it.
it's attrition.
Well, and you know what? And we talked about this earlier a little bit. The biggest change in college football this year, the biggest reason for parity is 5 and 6 year seniors and the transfer portal. Now I know Dabo doesn't like to go in the portal, but I'm going to tell you, I got 10 starters out of the portal over the last 2 years. I got a quarterback from Notre Dame. I got a 5-star wide receiver out of Ohio State. We're going shopping.
Everybody
We're going shopping.
Even Alabama's the best linebacker
Yeah,
in Tennessee.
absolutely.
Wide receiver from Ohio State.
Absolutely.
So Alabama's had the #1 recruiting class the last 10 years, and they're still shopping.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen him here yet. We won't see him go there yet. I don't
He's
know
not
why.
there yet.
I've
Dabo's
talked about
not
it,
there
and
yet.
I asked Dabo about it last week. You know, is he at the point where he's going to start
He's not.
considering it?
He's not.
It's a huge advantage for
They've
everybody
got a
else.
scouting program. They've got Danny.
You know what it is? It's like not taking 5 stars, only taking 4 stars. Where everybody else can get 5 stars.
Right.
You
I'm
know?
just telling you, they've got a scouting program in place now. They've got an actual staff. That's what Danny moved out of tight ends to go do. I mean, he went down there to go do just that, to be a scouting guy.
And look at the portal.
Look at the portal. I mean, they're looking at those guys.
They're looking.
But I don't think they can pull the trigger. I don't know what it is about this team. He stayed away from the junior college transfers.
Well,
what it is he has the culture, as you mentioned before, is 99% of the reason Clemson has done what it's done.
Unbelievable.
And he wants to keep it that way. He wants the guys to be instilled in the guys from day one as freshmen, not as juniors.
No, and he doesn't want a kid to have to come in here, sit for a year, sit for another year, maybe play a little, and then play his 4th year, or maybe not play his 4th year, because he went to portal and got a kid that was better. Dabo doesn't think it's fair to the kids.
Let me ask you this.
And the other thing, he doesn't run players off. Like a lot
No,
of coaches,
he does not.
A lot of SEC coaches,
But you know why he doesn't
in order
run?
to make scholarships.
He doesn't run players off because he recruits so well the first time.
True.
So if you buy chicken, you get chicken salad. If you don't buy chicken, you don't get chicken salad. You get chicken, you know what?
And I think there's something to be said for all that and that philosophy, but I think we're at the point where the benefits from using the portal as a resource have outweighed the benefits of that.
We are the living, we're the living, breathing reason.
Look at Oklahoma, 2 Heisman winners from the portal.
It's unbelievable.
And the 3rd Heisman finalist from the portal. Ohio State Fields, Burrow, LSU.
The examples are out there. We're just, again, we'll see what happens. Paul, I can't tell you this. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Good luck tomorrow.
Yes, thank you.
And hopefully, maybe
you know what? We haven't had. I've never been in the visiting locker room at Clemson because Dabo's won the trophy 12 out of 13 years. We'd like to win this trophy back. We'd like to take it back.
Well, how about last year when Travis Etienne gave it to DJ?
I thought that was a classy moment. We saw the pictures. We saw what he did. That's a classy moment by Etienne.
Either way, I just want to say thanks so much.
No, absolutely.
You guys are always welcome.
We love it. We've been doing this for 30-something years as Booster, as the Booster Club president. Our old favorites before we got in the league were Ann Arbor in Michigan and Happy Valley before all the baloney. Happy Valley and Penn State.
Right.
But I have to tell you, since 05, our best trip, hands down, the Clemson trip every year.
Come back down next year. Make it 4
Good to see you, boys.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Take care.
Paul,
God bless.
Hey, that was Paul from the Touchdown Club up in D.C. Man, I tell you, what a guy. What stories he's got to tell. Let's move on, though, Trevor. Let's move on and let's talk about last week's game. Let's talk about NC State and Clemson. How it came out, what you saw, what I saw. We haven't had a chance to really break it down like we always do every week, so let's talk about it.
I'll be the first to admit when I was wrong, and I thought that the Clemson offense would bounce back. I really did. You know, they had the down week against Georgia Tech, obviously struggled. The week before, I thought they looked pretty good early on. They scored their first touchdowns on the first 4 drives against SC State, albeit an inferior team, but they still looked a lot better to me. So I thought they would bounce back and rebound against NC State. My score prediction was 38-10. So obviously I was close on NC State, but I was way off on the Clemson offense. But man, you could just see it on that opening drive when DJ had the hot read to Shipley that would have gone for a big game, maybe even a touchdown. Oh, he threw it like 90 miles per hour right at his head, and got to put some touch on that, and that made it a 3-and-out, and it just got worse from there, and
just couldn't seem to get the continuity going.
Couldn't get any rhythm,
and then the good penalties. I've never seen so many penalties
especially on defense.
On defense, I mean, offside penalties cause drives to be extended. At least 3 I can think of, and 2 crucial ones. Those are the scores.
Yeah, that first touchdown NC State scored, they had 2 crucial 3rd down offside penalties on the Tigers, which we never see. I mean, going all the way back to August camp and their first scrimmage, Dabo told us there were 0 penalties on the defense, which is almost unheard of for a first scrimmage. And that's been the case all season. They haven't jumped off sides, but for whatever reason, I don't know, the crowd or what have you. I mean, the crowd's not loud when the defense is out the field on the road, but they were just jumping off, and man, it cost them big time. Cost them at least that first touchdown by State, and probably a lot more.
I just don't. Another thing I'm just not understanding myself, guys. I've questioned a little bit of our offense the last couple of weeks. Trevor will tell you, I said, well, I have an issue with play calling. For continuity's sake, I just see us attack the outside perimeter with running it. A couple times you see it and it works, but they go away from it immediately. Go right back to the zone traps and the things, the A and B gaps that aren't working. The interior of that line is getting crushed right now. They've got to come up with a true center. Why not bring Linthicum up, bring him up and give him some time? Break that red shirt, throw him out there. He's a big kid. He's a natural center. Let those guys like Mount Backhorse go back to their natural positions of guard. Well, that's one thing.
Dabo kind of intimated that on Wednesday that we might see some changes on the O-line this week. I mean, on the depth chart released on Monday night, he had the same starters as last week with Paul Teo making the second start at guard, but on Wednesday, Dabo said, hey, he may just run 5 new guys out there.
Yeah, well, that's one of my suggestions. I'd like to see it happen. I don't know if it would or not. That's something I think could possibly see. Linthicum going out there and then moving those guards back where they belong. But the other thing, Ross back out to the 9-man spot.
Yeah.
And put the kids
in the boundary.
Put Will Taylor in at the slot and give him a shot.
Or even Stellato.
I mean, the guy's strong. You've got to get him in there and start putting reps on him. You just can't redshirt him on a year like this year. I wouldn't.
I think we could see that some on Saturday. Dabo has kind of suggested or hinted that we might see Will Taylor more involved in the offense in different ways.
I think Will, because he's already been
Especially
exposed to the offense. You know what I'm saying? And his explosive ability. But
right.
Stellato, I think the groin injury, being the injury of the type it was, has slowed him up quite a bit from really getting out there. I think with groin injuries and hamstrings, they kind of lag a little longer than other injuries do. And with that going on, we really don't know what's going to happen with Will Taylor and the guys. You know?
The other thing I thought too last week, it seemed like, again, just like the Georgia game, Elliott kind of abandoned the run game in the first half. I mean, they only had like I think 7 carries in the first half. I mean, and then they went back to it in the second half with Shipley. But you know, I don't like, and of course, you know, their possessions. They haven't had the snap. I mean, we're used to them getting 80+ snaps per game, and now it's down to like 50, 60 again.
50 snaps last week.
Yeah,
110 for NC State.
And the time of position was unbelievable. I mean, it was like 40 to 20 in favor of NC State.
And that's just
you know,
something we're not used to seeing.
and that's probably a big reason that the defense, you know, just wasn't able to hold up in overtime. I mean, we saw it on consecutive possessions that give up touchdowns. We never see that. And yeah, just worn out by the end of the game with injuries and haven't been on the field the entire game.
Well, losing Skowski once again in the first half of the ball game to an injury now. This time we don't know how long he'll be out. James, you know, that leadership is gone. You know, but you try to put in guys. They put in Spector and a combination of guys.
Brought Bentley in and Mike.
I saw a little bit of the other 2 guys in there as well.
Yeah.
So we were watching both guys coming out of that lineup, and I just don't know. We're not seeing the continuity there either.
Tigers have had 6 starters on the defensive side miss games now.
Well, they got the 2
4 games in.
Starters defensive tackles, 2 All-Americans.
Both starting 2 defensive tackles out for the next 6-7 weeks. Exactly. So now we got Trey Williams and Root starting at D-tackle, and we got Peyton Page and Darnell Jeffries behind them.
And we got guys like DeMonte Capehart. We still don't know what's up with DeMonte, who hurt his knee during camp. I think he's pretty much still out.
He missed pretty much all camp, and I don't think he's even
they're ruling him out as of right now. So
and then Justin Foster, you know, Dabo said that he's already played some 3 technique, and so they'll be moving him inside now.
He was inside last week quite a bit. He was one of those first offside goals that was on Justin, who was not used to that spot. Something was going on with that snap count and that snap.
That's what it was.
Something was going on because it was very rare to see that going on.
They had the hard count.
They had a real hard count working. They worked very well, and they wasn't prepared for it.
Yep.
But let's go on over to y'all and talk about the defensive side of the ball.
Let me do my fun fact real quick, since we just talked to Paul, the president of the BC Gridiron Club. It was kind of a good segue to talk a little bit about the origin of the O'Rourke McFadden Trophy, which is obviously named after Charlie O'Rourke, the Boston College quarterback, and Banks McFadden, the Clemson legend quarterback. The first time these 2 teams met was in the 1940 Cotton Bowl, game which the Tigers won down in Dallas. And
the original Cotton Bowl too, right? They're like the Fairgrounds Stadium.
Yeah, they're right there in Dallas. So it was the first meeting. You know, a lot of people think Boston College, Clemson, they don't have a lot of history, maybe, you know, recent history because of the ACC, but they don't really think that it might go back as long as it has, just because of the disparity between geographically between the 2. But yeah, they go all the way back to 1940 and had lots of historic games in between as well. But McFadden, of course, was Clemson's first College Football Hall of Fame inductee, and now you got C.J. Spiller, who's going to be going in December, and he was the first recipient of the O'Rourke McFadden Trophy, the leather helmet in 2008. Exactly. We were reminiscing with Paul about the Dabo's first win, of course, up at Chestnut Hill in 2008. And just a quick funny story about that game, by the way. I was talking about it just now with Paul about the fact that I was in the stands up in the nosebleeds, and it was the day after Halloween, freezing cold. Well, the night before, my grad school friends and I, we were downtown Boston going bar hopping, and we were all dressed up in our Halloween costumes. It was Halloween night, and I was dressed up as a Clemson football coach with a bag over my head and a question mark and a whistle around my neck and the play sheet. And the costume was I was the next Clemson football head coach.
Oh, okay.
Because nobody knew at that point who it was going to be. Exactly. Dabo had 1 game under his belt and he lost to Georgia Tech.
When you reminisce back then, who were you lobbying to be the next head football coach at Clemson before Dabo? happy with that. Because myself, I was not expecting him to be named the head coach. I thought he'd take the interim tag and move along from there.
Honestly,
but after the South Carolina win
yeah.
and the chant in the stadium, that was it.
Yeah, honestly,
I knew at that point they were going to hire him.
I was actually lobbying for Dabo before that South Carolina win. In fact, I still have bragging rights over my little sister's ex-boyfriend from way back then. Was a South Carolina fan, and so we were all at Thanksgiving watching that game. We were up in Maryland watching the game on TV Thanksgiving, and he was bragging and talking about how Dabo would never amount to anything, and I was telling them, whatever, you wait and see. He's going to be the next Clemson head coach, and he's going to do great things. Because I was really encouraged at that point, already having heard Gene Stallings say glowing things about Dabo. That was all the endorsement I needed. When Gene Stallings said that he was going to be a great head coach one day, that sealed the deal for me. So I was rooting for Dabo at that point, and to this day, I make sure and poke some fun at that guy for saying that Dabo wasn't going to go anywhere. And 2 national titles in 6 straight playoffs later.
I tell you though, these Boston College games are always trying to be something that we always not expect. Usually, I'm going to tell you, it's a 10 to 17 point game. Any way you look at it, I'll go as far as tomorrow being a 3 to 7 point game. It's going to be one of those kind of games. Their defense is coming to play. They've got a tough-nosed football team. I'll give them that. They're taking the best of the old school Boston College, and now they've entered with this new school offense and a little bit more of a speed. Guys like Zay Flowers are absolute NFL talent.
Zay Flowers, yeah, he start
right
for any team in the country.
He start for anybody. He's my favorite slot guy in the country right now.
And of course, they always have great tight ends at BC year after year. They just turn them and roll them in and out.
Of course, they had Vrabel up before.
Yeah, and they had Hunter Long last year was their great tight end, and they lose him, and they just move right along with this Trey Berry, Alabama kid. He's already got 20. He's averaging 23 yards a catch and has 2 touchdowns already in the first 4 games.
Clemson has the worst time covering tight ends.
Yep.
It's always a mismatch. Brent Venables, you're going to live or die with that blitz, and when you blitz, those tight ends find it, they see it, and they get out in those open spaces. And that's
He's like a one Achilles heel of that defense.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, that's just again, if you live by the blitz, you're going to have to know that you got to be able to cover those clean spaces, and it's hard to do.
And of course, the game last year was a thriller. BC got out to that big 18-point lead.
And then DJ finally woke up.
Yeah, Potter hits a 50-yard field goal right before halftime to cut it to 15, but and then DJ, maybe Dabo talked about this week going back to the beginning, going back to the fundamentals, relearning all those fundamentals that they usually instill in camp. And so, it's kind of interesting that they're going back to the beginning to face the opponent against which Dabo won his first game as a head coach, and then DJ got his first win as a starter last year. So maybe all that will kind of, coalesce.
I'll tell you something really good about tomorrow. Tomorrow we got the 1981 team is going to be brought on down the hill to commemorate that 40-year anniversary. I was there in 1981 in Miami as a little kid.
I was 5 years old.
I was sitting in the stands as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, watching the game. I'm a front row with my mom. Enjoyed that game. I was a huge Dolphins fan. We spent the night and watched the Dolphins play the San Diego Chargers. Some people call maybe the best NFL game of all time the next day. I got to see my Dolphins lose, but it was still the best game I ever saw.
Dan Fouts, right?
Yeah. And they had to carry Kevin Winslow off the field pretty much off that game. But an incredible weekend for me. But our next guest is a guy from that 1981 team. Guys, this is Jim Spiros. And Jim is the owner of Velocity Restaurant Group up in Northern Virginia, Maryland area, but also he's a volunteer member of our 81 National Championship team. And we got Jim here to talk Tigers about the 81 team and what it's like to be back in town.
Good, thank you. I just want to make sure you have it.
Oh, absolutely.
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
See that?
Well, don't worry. You can find them all over the website, guys. Go to ClemsonSportsNews.com, and we've got a Facebook group. It's for all you guys up in D.C., Virginia, and Maryland. All you Clemson fans up there, look for us on our Facebook group, and we've got it going right now. Lots of material in there for you.
Check out the Velocity.
Velocity wings and locals only, tacos and tequila up in the area.
Thank you. Appreciate you all having me.
No, dude, you're the guest of honor today. 1981 champion. You got that ring?
Are there going to be butterflies or chills as you're coming down the hill tomorrow and walking on the field?
It's always nice get back together with those guys over the years. 40 years. It's hard to believe it's been 40 years. And,
That's the hard part.
And I'm just excited to see, Coach Ford and everybody tomorrow, and we're looking forward to it. So, I come back quite often. So, I was here for the barbecue about a month and a half ago. Got to see a lot of guys there, but that's from all the classic guys. So I was here from 77 through 81, and then graduated here in 82. So it was, listen, I had a great time here at Clemson those years, and we had a lot of success. And I really think those 5 years especially, kind of built the foundation for what
77 to 82?
Oh, yeah. So, and I remember even our 78 team was unbelievable.
That's Jeff, Joe Boston.
Oh, yeah. Dwight Clark.
At the Gator Bowl, famous Woody Hayes game.
Absolutely was. So,
you know what? Joe's story to me back in the day was Joe told me about the Gator Bowl. He never even saw punch. He never even knew what happened until the next day when his mom called him to wake him up to go to his flight for a hula bowl or something. Right. And then she told him on the phone. He didn't even know. Did you see it that night? Were you aware of it?
Well, I was aware of it because my roommate was Charlie Baldwin.
Wow. So there was another stuff. Charlie won't even talk to us about it. He refuses to bring it up.
Yeah, you know what? Charlie was a great player, and he never wanted to be remembered for that incident. He wants to be remembered for his playing days.
Yes, absolutely.
He can probably never set foot in the state of Ohio again.
He lives there. Charlie lives in Ohio.
Charlie does live there.
That's crazy.
And I talk to him quite often, and he's doing great. So, but you know what? That 81 team, I read an article here recently that said, it said something like the 81 team came out of nowhere. Well, that's not exactly true because we didn't do well in 1980.
But the year before that was 11-1 team.
Yeah. Well, actually, 2 years before that, we were 11-1. Well, I'll take it back. We were 8-3 because that was the Peach Bowl team that we had. When Stuckey was still here, and Billy Lott was the quarterback.
That was against so.
And then then the following year, we had 4 or 5 very close games. And then we were 6-5, and that's when Homer was first year quarterback. A lot of transition, a lot of younger players played then.
That was the Orange Britches at the end of the season with Willie Underwood.
Exactly.
That was the first game.
Absolutely. So
that changed a lot.
That changed. I think it started then.
That game.
Yeah, it started
I
then
think
in
the attitude,
1980.
I think the culture change started that day.
Well, they had George Rogers, and that was just a great day for us, And it started in 81, but if you go back to that team now, I can count like 18 guys, You're talking about, the Fridge was a freshman, okay? And then you had people like Jeff Bryan, Jeff Davis. Steve Durham actually left the year before, but you had so many people, Rod McSwain, Terry Kennard, Billy Davis, Jimmy Scott, Chuck McSwain,
Cliff Austin,
Cliff Austin, Jeff McCall was on the
that guy was great.
He was, you had
the North Carolina game, that's 10-8 1 year.
Absolutely.
He absolutely won that ball.
No, absolutely. I just look back at how many guys, we had great players. Lee Nanny was Jacob Blocker Trophy, played unbelievable. Barry Hill was at center. We had Mayberry at tackle. Gary Brown, James Frost, Homer Jordan. I mean, when you look at Perry Tuttle, who had the great catches that year. But when you look at that team, I can sit there and count. There was Reggie Plesser, who I had dinner with last night. He played in the he played in the Canadian Football League for like 8 years. As an owner, I kept trying to get him on my team. I was in Montreal. He was in Toronto. So when I look at how many players, literally, I just named like 20 guys. Andy Hedden, there was so many. Johnny Rember. There were so many great players.
He played with the Patriots for a while.
Absolutely, he was a very good player. Yeah, very good. And I know I'm missing some guys, but
Andy Hedden, that's what I got to say. That guy was ahead of his time, folks. He was Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
LT at Clemson.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That guy's ahead of him.
When you look how many guys played,
he came here as a quarterback.
Absolutely, he did. And I remember he was 6'5", 220 pounds, and Andy could have played a couple.
So let me ask you, Jim, what was it like the first day? When did they move him to defense? What was the first day? Because you're an offensive guy. What was it like to help Anthony?
Well, I remember when Andy Hedden came in, and we were very deep at quarterback. Okay, and at that time, he came in because
you had Fuller.
We had Fuller, we had Billy Lott, we had and we had Mike Askew. We had a bunch of good quarterbacks, and back in those days, we pitched the ball out a lot.
Fear offense.
It was a fear offense, and again, and Andy Hedden, he was a good athlete, but I think there was a need. And, you know, because he went to go play for the Giants. I used to go up and see him and Terry Kennard when they played for the Giants together. And Jimmy Scott was there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was, but there was just so many great players. And
the NFL pedigree out of your class probably tops, I would say right now, compared to any class so far. Even the most recent ones. The pedigree in the NFL, especially the longevity of careers that you guys had from your class. Your class really stuck into the league a while. You speak of Terry Kennard, you speak of guys like Johnny River, man. Nobody realizes he played with the Patriots for about 6-7 years and started.
Like I said, that you know, a lot of people may think he came out of nowhere, but that team was developing. We were young in 1980. In 81, everybody blossomed and everybody played to their capability. And you know, I just look at that team and I say, you know, it was a special time, and it kind of laid the foundation for what took place here over the last 10 years. Yep, that's right. Mick Andrews. And you know, you had a lot of guys. You know, when I first came here with Charlie Pell and Mickey Andrews and Joe Kynes and Danny Ford.
I got named Clyde Wren.
Yeah, Clyde Wren. There you go.
That's the man has a lot to do with all of them.
No, he did. He was recruiting.
So Mickey Andrews went from serving here for Florida State.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, again, he was our defensive back coach, and he was a coordinator. And, you know, we had so many. It was all these coaches that came from Alabama. And so really what they did was install kind of the same thing that Bear Bryant did back in those years. And I can tell you, I can attest to it. I'm speaking, I know all the guys who went through all this, you know, from winter workouts. I mean, there would be days we'd be in that stadium over there, 168 plays. I mean, you know, we did 3 days. There was, you know, there was no limit when practice was over back in those days. So we practiced hard. I remember Thursdays, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practices. I mean, our best playing time was at practice because the games became easy.
That's the same thing I hear from you guys. And everyone said Coach Ford's practices were harder than any game.
I don't see how you didn't have guys making field goals.
I tell you what,
you guys were good on good all the time, though. There was none of this ABC team stuff, right? It was always good on good.
No, it was. And you know something, it made, I think all of this, I mean, I attribute to a lot of guys their success afterwards, you know, in their personal life and business life, is because I always look this way. If I could get to the spring practice, I could do anything. Everything else in business just comes easy compared to what we had to do when we were youngsters.
Out of your mission, what guy stood out to you? Like a lot of guys will tell me the guys that stand out to them like a Benny Cunningham. Right. That stood out on that team as a guy that just his hands above everybody else. He walked on the field, he knew what he was. The minute he walked out there. Then there was guys like the dual sport guy that was there. What was his name? That same period.
Stan Rowe.
Exactly. You got those kind of guys. Who was it in your class that stood out like that?
You know, there was just so many guys. You know, you look at guys who had personalities. I mean, everybody loved Dwight Clark.
Oh, Dwight, yeah.
I look at Dwight Clark when I first came in, and you know, when you're kind of a freshman or sophomore, you're looking up to these guys like, wow, you know. And but Dwight, I mean, you know, he was much of a character, and he was just something kind of fabulous for the guy that worked hard and got rewarded for what he did. But when I look at guys from the team from '81, you know, Jeff Davis stands out to me.
Yeah,
and you know, when he first came in, you know, here's a guy from North Carolina, and he was kind of, you know, he looked like, you know, the Incredible Hulk, you know, at about 6 foot, about 230 pounds, and all pumped up. And you know, Jeff had flat feet. I'm thinking, okay, what can this guy do? And I'm going up one-on-one with him, and after he went the forearm, I said, you know what, this guy's great. But Jeff came out as a freshman and started. It's just the way he was. I mean, some guys lead by example, and Jeff did that from day one. So when you look at a guy that I think, you know, his accolades speak for itself, and look what he's doing for the university today. Yeah. And I just have a lot of respect for him. But he was a guy that came in as a freshman, and the work ethic. And I think, you know, when you see Jeff Davis doing it, you have no choice. Everybody's got to do it, you know. And he was the type of guy that I think was, he kind of represented what we were all about, the team, you know. Hard work, and, you know, Jeff was a guy that got better every year, and he just had a heck of a career.
It's kind of crazy watching his 2 sons play for the Tigers.
Oh, yeah, that was special. But, you know, I mean, like you said, but when I talk about guys that when I first saw Jeff Bryant, I said to myself, I mean, this guy, as a freshman, he came in, and he could, I mean, you know, he was like 9 feet, he put his hands out, you know. But there was just so many incredible athletes that we had when we were here. And that's why I said that 81 team, you know, I think close to guys who are on NFL rosters, and it's just, you know, it's pleasant to be part of all this.
Let me ask you, go a little bit off topic real quick and just ask you about today's landscape in college football. Back in your day, Clemson went to 14-8 ball game against Georgia Tech. Everybody's ecstatic, right?
Right.
I mean, the defense didn't allow a touchdown, et cetera, et
We
cetera.
beat North Carolina that year.
Coach,
There you go.
The difference between coach.
I mean, they're allowing 4 points a game on defense, but all anybody wants to talk about is offense. What's wrong with the
Coach
offense?
Ford would take a 1 point win all day long.
Is everyone just too obsessed with offense and scoring points?
Well, you know what? I think yes. I think that's what answer that question, Jess. But I mean, Coach Sweeney over the past decade, he's built this program, and it's built to last. And I think these last 2 games, everybody's concerned. But you know what? I mean, winning's hard. I mean, people don't. I mean,
Just winning is hard.
And that's why I really look at what Coach Sweeney's been able to do. When you win, you want to celebrate. And I was fortunate to have my son Justin, who spent a couple of years here, as a recruiting assistant, and now got South Florida with Coach Jeff Scott. Yeah, Justin's doing great. But so I was kind of on the inside, always seeing what was happening with the team, and just to see the dedication of all the staff. These guys have built a great foundation. I know the fans are, when we're used to winning, and the players are used to winning. And,
Not just winning, it's just blowing teams out.
And we got so much talent, and there's only one ball, and trying to pass the ball around, But I think right now, and especially tomorrow, they're back home. I think you're going to see this team, continue to improve. I mean, I think the offense will pick up, and I just feel like right now that the fans have got to appreciate that. These guys go out there and every day, and Coach Lee always says you got to earn them, okay? But these other opponents, like Boston College, these guys are all on scholarship too, and these teams. I mean, I remember back in the day we played Notre Dame. I was my junior year. We went up to Notre Dame. We beat Notre Dame up there, and I felt like, you know what? You wanted to play Notre Dame because Notre Dame came down here in my freshman year when I was redshirted.
Joe Montana.
Yeah, Joe Montana, and we had them beat. So for us to get up against Ohio State back in those days, or to get up against Nebraska, or to get these programs are huge programs, and again, and for us to go play Notre Dame. Well, now people got to understand. It's really been only Alabama and Clemson, and every team. This is their Super Bowl game. Now, I mean, to come here and play Clemson,
You saw the reaction from NC State fans last week.
Yeah,
That was the
everybody's
number
best
9
shot.
team in the country, not the number
Everybody's
1.
best shot every week, and that's what's made, like you said, all the more remarkable the
ACC.
dominance that Clemson was at with that.
The 6 straight ACC titles, that's going to make you everybody's envy. That's another thing inside the conference. You get a win against Clemson, you play well against them. It's a chip on your shoulder.
I mean, having lost a regular season game outside of that Notre Dame game, which is kind of a weird COVID anomaly, but since 2017, that's a long time losing a regular season game. I mean, it's crazy. And David Hale, the ESPN writer, put out maybe jinx it. I don't know, but he put out a tweet before the season talking about Clemson's total points versus ACC opponents' total points over the last couple of years, and it's just insane. I can't remember the exact number, but I mean, the next closest disparity was like 700 points less, something like that. I mean, Clemson's been so far ahead of the rest of the league. I think the ACC is catching up a little bit.
We'll talk about that in the COVID year, in the 6-year series. There's your problem.
Yep.
You got that infusion of extra talent and all these rosters is making a difference. It really is. I mean, you're seeing 6-year guys playing football, and that's why. That's it. You're taking them from college, putting them in the work programs, and seeing them developing there.
absolutely.
And you've got young guys at critical positions on offense. I mean, first-year starter, a sophomore quarterback, a sophomore and a freshman running back. You got a true freshman offensive guard. You got Blackboard playing center for the first time. So a sophomore offensive tackle in Walker Park. So just a lot of youth and new experience on the offensive side.
And we've had people play exceptionally well. They develop and they play the potential. You go back to Taj Boyd, then you have Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
Then you had
John's first couple of games weren't exactly pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly Bryant came in, and then you had of course Trevor Lawrence. So when you look at those 4 quarterbacks, I think he's a player. I mean, people think about. He came in. I remember he went back in the game against Texas A&M that freshman year. They won the game. He was a great football player. And when I look at the real quarterbacks, really, during Dabo's, really over the last decade. I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that. And I think right now, Big Cinco is he's gonna develop. And right now, I think that
there's been some instances, like a couple of the passes, the out routes, the corner routes he throws, but they're not touchdown passes.
Don't forget the
When he
players get
moves
better.
his feet, whenever he moves the pocket, and I think that's something the offense needs to do this with. This like he moves in the pocket. He moves his stuff to the right. He's able to plant himself and get what he needs. Look at the throw to Ross at the back of his own. That's a 35-yard
unbelievable
strike.
throw.
There's not even an arc in that ball. It was a strike. I mean, I've never seen a zipper. And that's a 35-yard bullet.
That's what I told my nephew.
Throw out that 5 yards.
My nephew was complaining about him. I was like, man, he's made some unbelievable NFL caliber throws. It's just
And a couple of
consistency.
them he made in traffic. A couple of
outside shoulder.
corner routes right out there. Beautiful throws in traffic.
And I just think it's just players getting used to playing with each other. And, this is you're on the stage, and I think right now we're going to continue to see this season. They're going to improve. They're going to get better. I think tomorrow is a great opportunity.
Jimmy, you've been in many leagues and many versions of programs and teams that you've managed and helped, be general manager and help assistant and coaching, I'm sure. What would you do if you were on the sidelines and it was your team tomorrow? How would you address these guys before you send them down? What would you say to try to get them to reset the season? I mean, that's kind of what needs to happen.
Well, you know what? I just figured out is that they put the work in. I mean, these guys have worked hard. We've got some injuries, things haven't gone the way. I just think guys got to go out there and be the best you can be. Play your game. Stay. I mean, I don't know. Clemson doesn't have to do anything different than they've been doing. Just be Clemson, and you know what? I think these guys right now, they're due. They're due right now. I think they're hungry. I think, we've had to, listen, we've been competitive in that Georgia game. Could have won that game. Every game we've been in right now, NC State game could have gone either way.
Only once a year, but they're literally 2 plays away from being 4-0 with a win over number 2 Georgia.
But I would say right now is that they're back home. It's homecoming. I mean, right now, if you can't get excited to run that in a hill tomorrow and play for Clemson in front of 85,000 people, then you know what? So I think things are going to take care of themselves. I think these players are ready. I think that we've got off to a little slow start than we wanted to. But I just feel like right now, knowing Clemson, knowing the staff, knowing the players, I mean, it's game time. It's showtime for these guys to step up. And tomorrow, I believe they will.
Let's talk about your trip down the road tomorrow. Score prediction first.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I believe, I think we're going to put some points up tomorrow. I think Clemson's going to throw 31 points. I just think we're going to score 31 points tomorrow. And I'm going to see like 31-17, 31-20 game. I think we're going to be able to control it. Boston College is a good football team. I have a lot of friends. I was in Buffalo when I was with the Buffalo Bills. Fred Sperlis, Chris Keating, Tommy Lynch. There's like 12 guys, all DC guys. I still stay in touch with some of them. And I mean, if you're from Boston, I mean, you don't think no one else ever exists in the whole United States. If you're not from Boston, you're just not really, you're not worth a whole lot, right? But these guys are tough. The only thing about Boston College is that this is a physical team. They're going to play hard, like I said before. And of course, they're going to come in here and they can't wait to walk into the Valley. But I think having our fans behind us tomorrow, supporting these guys, it's going to be a great football game. But I think Clemson's going to erupt tomorrow, and I think we're going to score 31 points and have a great game.
Well, I thought that was going to be last week. I predicted Clemson scored 38 last week, and I was obviously wrong. But I hope you're right about this week.
Now, tell us about your trip down the hill tomorrow and what that means to you.
Well, you know what? I come back to Clemson every year. The only years I've missed it was because I was either in the NFL or the CFL. But having my son come back here and graduate from here and be part of the football team, and he spent almost 8 years here in total. I was just very proud. So I've been to all the national championships that the Clemson have played in. I've been to a lot of the football games. I believe Orange. And tomorrow, it's just like you said, it never gets old. I said, it never gets old. So for me to run that hill, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to certainly enjoy it. And just seeing the guys, coming back and talking to the guys, and I said over the years, I've stayed in touch with them, which is kind of cool.
One more question. What do you tell Coach Ford, and what is he going to say to you?
It's John Hay. I love Coach Ford, and it started, my own personal games in life. I've been with people like Danny Ford, Joe Gibbs, Pete Carroll, people I've been around my life. There's a lot of lessons, you know, and it started here. All my successes, if I don't go to Clemson and play football here, I never go to the Redskins. I went to the Redskins, and they wanted to know how we won a national championship. Think about it. I went to the Redskins, we weren't winning. And they wanted to know, that guy was Joe Gibbs. And after coming off 0-5
Think about that.
He started off 0-5.
Before Joe Theismann, right?
That's right, but they all, you know, no matter what kind of win, they always want to know how to practice, what our periods look like. I brought the playbook in. So it all started here at Clemson. And I just, like I said, my whole life, I felt like, you know what, kind of have a chip on your shoulder. You played here, and just the camaraderie of the people. A lot of lessons we learned.
Did you ever stumble or trip at all coming down the hill and all your trips?
That rubber moves on you, okay? So if you're smart, the veterans know this. You go off to the side, you stay on the grass. That carpet is carpet's pretty dangerous.
Before we let you go, show the folks your ring.
That's the real one, guys. That's the first one. That's the first one. That's the real one right there, okay?
You know what? I didn't say this, is that I'm just happy that, hey, we're back playing football again. Last year was a strange year. And I think there's still some residue from what happened last year with a lot of, not just Clemson, but a lot of teams in NCAA. You know, last year was a strange year, and people got back to doing spring practice, not having camp this year. It's nice to be here and see people back out again. So I'm just excited that, hey, we're playing football, and our lives are starting to get back in line.
Hey guys, when you're up in Baltimore, Virginia, the area up there, DC area, look for his restaurants, okay? Velocity Wings, and locals only, tacos and tequila. Okay?
And also we have another concept called Social House, which is craft beer. So
there you go, the Social House, a new one. He just broke out on me, so I didn't know that
we
one.
have 14 restaurants up there.
Jim, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all.
Hey guys, next up we've got the Pound Cake Man, Jeff Bennett. Jeff's coming up to do our Pick Six. He does our Pick Six with us this week. It's sponsored by the Pound Cake Man. If you've ever been here in Clemson, the Pound Cake Man has got the most delicious desserts in all of Clemson. It's a pound cake dessert recipe. He has his own. He delivers these guys all over the town. He has his own little store right there on Highway 93, Clemson Central. So Jeff's dad is also George Bennett, by the way, Clemson's famous IPTO director and the guy that was famous for the $2 bill. But let's go ahead and start our Pick Six. Jeff, come on up. Guys, it's Jeff Bennett. We call him the Pound Cake Man here in Clemson. And hey, Jeff, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. How are you? Good to see you. So, we're here to our Pick Six, sponsored by the Pound Cake Man. I bragged on your pound cake. I said, you got to show everybody what you brought.
Yeah, so one of them fell over a little bit while we were driving. But I'll bring it closer.
Yeah, look at that, guys. I'm telling you.
We got orange creamsicle,
Tip
classic.
it down a little bit. There you go.
Taco chip, pumpkin. We got a bunch of stuff. They don't normally look like that except when they fall in the car coming over here.
So guys,
Great for tailgating, right?
Perfect for tailgating.
Tell about, well, you have a tailgate deal right now, right? You got a good one.
Well, you know, we got a dozen cupcakes for $30, and that's always a good thing. We have whole cakes, we have cupcakes, you can get a half dozen, a whole dozen. You can get 15 dozen if you really want.
You can tag a bottle on purple.
And we can do whatever kind of decorating you want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're located right there on 93, right next to Cornfish PC. What's the address there?
It's 530 Old Greenville Highway.
Now tell the local folks here in Clemson about your delivery. I know you told me on the way over you're delivering food.
Yeah. So we had like 15 deliveries today. We anywhere in the 5-mile radius of us, any of the dorms, any of the apartment complexes, any of the neighborhoods in the Clemson area.
Okay, so you got to tell us the origin. Because I got turned on your pound cakes at Four Paws. We're doing a live show. Your dad was there. He was a guest.
Right.
And he came to see the show. And I ordered a meal, and I got to eat my meal, and your dad tells me to try the pound cake. I'm like, okay. I didn't know it was any in it. So I asked the owner, and I said, hey, can you send me a pound cake over? And I got a piece of pound cake. And I was like, where does this come from?
Right.
And he started telling me about you. So tell us about how you got this idea to become the pound cake maker.
Well, for 35 years, I've done video production, right?
Right, that was
so
the stadium.
I
You see
still
him
do.
at the stadium, Trevor. He's right there next to us doing video.
Yeah, I run a camera for Paul Vision today. Used to do the Tommy Bowden show, the Oliver Purnell show, all that kind of stuff. And I started making pound cakes for people in the department, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And it's my dad's, mom's, my grandmother's basic pound cake recipe.
Wow.
So then I started.
family?
Yeah. So then I started playing with flavors, and now I've got over 80 different flavors, and people keep suggesting more, and we keep getting more of them.
Let's get you to send a few up to the press box tomorrow.
I keep talking. Hey, I'd be glad to order them.
Right?
I tell you, it's worth every penny, folks. You got to go by and see Jeff and his pound cakes. The other thing was the truck. The truck is a beautiful truck you got that runs around town. It grabs everybody's eye. And I'm like, I try to follow it like a dog running after the guy. It's like, hey, is he going to stop? Is he going to stop? Because before I got to know you, I didn't know where you set up, when you set up. Is there a certain time of the, you have a place you got a schedule where you go and just kind of set the truck up like some of these food trucks do?
No, we really don't have, we have to be invited to go to events or neighborhoods or whatever, and there's really nowhere that you can just go set up anymore. I mean, Clemson doesn't have a place. Greenville used to have a place, but that went away. So it's just, we do a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of businesses, a lot of breweries, that kind of stuff, and it's just, you kind of hit or miss. But you can always come to the bakery. We're always there 6 days a week, 10 to 6.
So you're talking about working in the video department. Let's talk about stuff like Tigerama tonight.
Yeah.
You ever work with the Tigerama guys?
Well, when I was
a kid, it was my favorite thing to come in. They had us in the stands.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing I can remember about Tigerama was I was actually part of some of these funds. I had a teammate. I played for Daniel High School at that time.
Right.
In 1983. And the West End Zone was just a single stand with the West End Zone.
Yeah.
And we were going to go sit in the West End Zone. So we're walking through there, and my buddy just got the Mohawks. For the football team, but he got the real Mohawk folks with the long hair, went straight up. So when he walked rolling by with that head stick up in the air, the whole band started doing the tomahawk chop.
Nice.
By the time we got stopped, about 20,000 people doing the tomahawk chop. It used to be so well attended.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun. But I haven't been lately. Have you been lately? What is your experiences with that?
I haven't been in a while, but I know when I was a college student, I was a Sigma Nu. And I used to write the Tigerama skits for the Sigma Nu. Me and 2 or 3 other guys.
I did a skit. I was a Sigma guy. I did a skit one year. Right. Hey, we're next door neighbors,
Yes,
right? We
exactly
got the quad
right.
there.
So it was a lot of fun, and we had. I remember we did one where they used to have the. It was like Rodgers and Hammerstein was the theme, so you had to pick a musical to go, and we did the King of the ACC. I mean, the King and I, the King of the ACC. And we actually got a standing ovation when it was done. It was so good.
What you guys being ex-frat guys? Clemson both had to take place on the floor building up on Bowman.
Oh, yes.
Talk about
late
that.
nights on Bowman Field.
Talk about yours and yours. Come on, break them out, guys. Let's go.
Let me just say there were many beers drunk.
How much TP did you go through tonight?
Oh, I can't even tell you. I mean, I think I couldn't feel the tips of my fingers by the end of the week. I mean, I didn't do it every year. I did it probably 2 or 3 years. As you got older, when you're a pledge, you had to. It was mandatory, no choice or volunteering there. But
well, I remember on homecoming weekends, I would wake up Friday morning and I would go to bed Saturday night. So, because I did the Tigerama thing, I pumped all night, 7 o'clock, and then I went down. I was in Central Spirit, went down and blew up balloons.
Oh, wow.
And the games were all at 1 o'clock then. And then we had the fraternity party that night, and then I go to sleep when that was over.
Wow. We would always seem to start out slow, and then by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we were like, we had 24-hour shifts. Everybody's like bloodshot eyes, and people were pulling all-nighters to try to get this thing done. Nowadays, these kids, they got Dabo and President Clemens coming out there and giving them free pizzas.
And they're done today.
we didn't get that.
We had to get it all done by Saturday morning at 7 o'clock.
Right.
That was quite the.
Did you ever have it rain during homecoming? Once or twice, I remember it rained, and it was like all week, and it was disgusting.
3 years back, the Louisville game in 2016, the homecoming game in upstate, it rained the whole week.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a mud pit. I mean, it was like Woodstock out there.
And all the pumps they bleed together, all the colors.
Exactly. Yeah, it was terrible.
Never a good thing.
Hey, well, listen, let's get a look at some picks here. We got Pick 6 is our sponsorship. Every week we do the Pick 6. And it's sponsored by the Pound Cake Man. So Pound Cake Man's Pick 6, and this week he's on here with us. First game we're going to pick, Arkansas is number 8 in the country. They're traveling to the UGA Bulldogs. Jeff, what do you think? Talk to us.
I am a terrible picker.
That's okay.
But for this one, I think, as much as I hate to do it, I think I got to go with Georgia.
Trevor?
Arkansas is on a roll. Interesting connection here. Sam Pittman,
from Georgia.
The head coach for Arkansas, used to be offensive line coach for Georgia.
That's where Georgia makes their bones.
Exactly. So he knows Kirby Smart. So I think it'll be interesting. Also interesting that it's at nooner. You expect this game, top 10 matchup, to be a prime time or at least 3:30. They scheduled, of course, 2 weeks ago, right after Arkansas beat Texas, so they weren't top 10 yet. But still, early, sleepy, noon kickoff. I don't know in Athens, but I think the crowd will still be ready to go.
They'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I think Georgia is really the first test for Georgia's defense, because Clemson, obviously, Clemson's offense wasn't rolling
clicking yet.
Yeah, it wasn't clicking in that first game. Couldn't get in a rhythm. So this will be a good test for Georgia's defense, see how good they really are. But I think Georgia.
I'm with you on that. I'm going to go Georgia too. So that's picking the Dogs. Next game on the calendar, number 14 Michigan is at Wisconsin. Wisconsin just off the loss last week to Notre Dame. It was pretty ugly. They couldn't get the offense going. They looked pretty bad. A lot of turnovers. Ex-Clemson running back there, starting there. Chesmalusi. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you. What do you think about Michigan at Wisconsin?
Well, I don't quite trust Michigan yet.
I don't either. So there you
So
go.
I got to go with Wisconsin on this one.
Home game.
Yeah.
Same here. Michigan hasn't played on the road yet. It's going to be in Madison, coming off a loss, as you said. So that place is going to be jumping. They're hungry for a win. That Notre Dame game was close for 3.5 quarters, and all of a sudden, in fact, Notre Dame was down 3 points in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden they exploded and scored 39 points in the fourth quarter. So,
The irony of that was an ex-Wisconsin quarterback.
Cone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Cone,
And he got knocked out of the game.
Got knocked out of the game.
And the backup came in and played great. Yeah, so I don't.
The whole thing was the irony was the here's you got Wisconsin have quarterback issues, and they're playing their ex-quarterback who transferred out.
Exactly.
If he stayed, you think it would have been a little bit.
It would have been a little bit different.
And Graham Graham Mertz kind of some similarities there with Clemson because everybody had high expectations for him coming into the season, just like DJ, and for whatever reason he just hasn't found it yet. But I think with the home crowd coming off a loss and Michigan not having proven themselves, like you said, on the road yet, I think Wisconsin's going to win.
And it's Harbaugh. You never know what Harbaugh's going to do.
I'm not a Harbaugh fan.
No.
But I'm going to go get you guys in Michigan. I'm going to go with Michigan.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Michigan. All right, so let's go next. We got here number 9 Cincinnati at the aforementioned number 7 Notre Dame, our Fighting Irish. Notre Dame at home. Chip Kelly playing against his old school.
2:30 game,
He
right?
played. He did not coach. He coached the Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, they won 11 or 12 games in 2009.
And I'll tell you right now, Luke Fickell is one of my favorite coaches in the country right now. If I'm Southern Cal, that's who I'm looking at.
Yeah.
That's who I'm looking at from Southern Cal. Nobody else. But you don't know where they're going to go. That's my choice. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go. I'm going to go ahead with you guys on this one. I'm going to go ahead and pick Cincinnati upset at Notre Dame.
I think Cincinnati is on a big stage for a change. They want to make a statement. This is their opportunity. If they don't do it here, then they'll never do it again. So I'll go with Cincinnati too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge game for Cincinnati. If they want to make the playoff, in my opinion, they have to win this game. They've already beaten Indiana, but Indiana's not what everybody expected Indiana to be. But this is, I think, their last chance for a marquee signature win. Desmond Ritter's a great quarterback, and as you said, Fickell's a great coach. Also the other tie, not only Brian Kelly, but Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame's new defensive coordinator, was Cincinnati's defensive coordinator last year. So he knows that offense, he knows all their personnel. He's been doing a great job with Notre Dame defense so far. I like the Irish at home, although there's a little bit of quarterback controversy, as we just talked about with Cone getting knocked out in the Wisconsin game. The backer comes in and he plays lights out. So
He was not afraid. He was not gun-shy.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
He pulled the trigger quick on a lot of plays.
Yeah, so we'll see who the quarterback ends up being, and if Cone starts, whether he struggles, whether they'll start to be some angst there with the fan base. But I think Notre Dame and Cincinnati to me hasn't proven. They almost beat Georgia, almost in the bowl game in the Peach Bowl last year. Couldn't pull it off. Should have won. Had an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. Blew it. Until they prove to me that they can get over that hump and play with the big boys and win, I'm picking against them. I'm picking Notre Dame.
I'm with you. Next up, we got number 12, Ole Miss at Alabama. And this is going to be a good one, guys. Lane Kiffin comes in. He coached last week. He was back in this week after COVID protocol, so he'll coach this week at Alabama. Last time Alabama lost at home, if I'm not mistaken, it was to Ole Miss. Am I right there? That was
2015 Chad Kelly.
Chad Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that was on the road, of course. Or no, that was at home.
Alabama.
That was last time they lost at home.
At home.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to go with Alabama. Because I think Alabama's just got too many horses here in the last 4 quarters. But I think Ole Miss gives them everything they can handle. If the upset happens, I wouldn't doubt it.
I wouldn't be disappointed at all if Ole Miss won. So, but you got to go with Bama at home.
Yeah, same here. I mean, Alabama, people have been questioning them since they let Florida back into the game after they were up 18 points. Ended up winning by 2, and who'd they play last week, Mercer or somebody. So they've been waiting for this game. They've been hearing all the criticism, and they're at home. I think they're going to, Ole Miss may score some points on them, but I think Bama by at least 2 scores.
Next up is home game we got right here. Clemson, number 25 in the nation, going against BC at home. BC's coming in with backup quarterback. Clemson with a quarterback controversy with people talking about DJ's play and a bunch of guys injured on the defensive side of football. So who steps up? How does that happen? Start with you, Trey. What do you think?
Let's start with all right. Throwing me a curveball. I was waiting for Jets to start. All right. Well, First of all, Boston College, obviously without Djokovic, that's huge. Now Dennis Grosel, the backup quarterback, he has a couple starts under his belt now. But he has, going back to last year and the year before, he has a lot of starting. I think this is his 12th game starting as BC's quarterback. So it's not like he's inexperienced and he's seen big crowds before. But their running game, they've got this Garwo kid who's he's got 4 touchdowns this season, averaging 6.8 yards per carry. But is he that guy? Is he that Andre Williams, that A.J. Dillon, the type of power back? Yeah, Montel Harris. They seem to churn these guys, these running backs in over year after year at BC. I'm not sure he's that guy yet, but we'll find out a lot about that on Saturday. They've also got that tight end I mentioned earlier, Trey Barry, who always seems to give Clemson fits when they're with the big tight end. Zay Flowers, the X factor, obviously. He's so dynamic.
Jet sweeps.
Exactly. They'll use him in all kinds of different ways to give the Tigers problems. I'm not sure about BC's defense yet. Usually they're pretty stout, but
last week was a shootout.
They did give up a bunch of points, like 30, I believe, to Mizzou. In that
41-34
overtime. Right. Yeah, big overtime throw, not only for Clemson last week, but also BC at home pulled it out against Mizzou. So having said all that, Clemson on the other hand, obviously we're going to find out a lot about Pace, whether he's ready to be the guy at running back with Will Shipley out. Not sure if he's ready to be the guy, but we'll find out quick. Phil Maffa, we're going to see a lot of him.
Make sure he's pulled off a Maffa.
Yeah,
defensive line guys coming in. Peyton Page, a guy I'm looking to see.
Now,
Trey Williams in the starting role, I think, again with the bad shoulder. You see it every game. He comes out with a shoulder. Yeah. Just has 2 years straight of that nagging shoulder injury. Now, he's playing half a game.
Maffa, everything we've heard since coming out of camp is that he's a lot from a personality and a maturity standpoint. He's a lot like Shipley. He's a leader. Beyond his years, carries himself like a pro. Dabo said, guys, Dabo on Wednesday, whether where he was from a protection standpoint, whether he knew all his protections and pass pro. Dabo said he's ready. He's been ready. They've been richer than what he said. But we'll find out quick. He seems to have good hands from what I've seen, and from what I've seen in camp, can catch the ball out of the backfield. So the offense, obviously is still a work in progress. But defense, even minus 2 starting defensive tackles, I think the defense will show up at night to the Death Valley crowd. I'm going to go Clemson 27, EC 13.
Well, I know that the big thing that's been going on this year is that Clemson, the offense hasn't been going right. So I took care of something this week that we haven't been doing. And for the last 15 years, on every Tuesday when we have a press conference, we've been taking a cake down to the football office, and that's been their good luck story. Well, we haven't done that this year. So I made sure that this week I took a banana pudding pound cake down to the football office. So I'm guessing, I'm believing that everything will be back in order this week, and I see a good win for Clemson.
Superstitious, I like that.
Yeah,
kind of guy. If I had known that.
We're going to have to make sure that cake gets there.
The cake will be there every week. Yeah.
For the record,
my dad normally has been taking it down there, but I took it down there personally.
Well, there's a reason, because they cut the guys, those guys off.
It's hard to get in there.
So for the record, Jeff is responsible for Clemson not making the playoff this year, ending that 97-week AP top 5 streak, which was second behind Miami. Yeah, tied with Alabama behind Miami. Top 10 streak. Let's see, that AP top 10.
Pound cakes. Pound cakes.
It's the secret to everything.
Pound cakes. Guys, I'm telling you, pound cake man.
That's right.
By the way, while we're sitting here, we got one more game to talk about. We talked about BC and Clemson. I'm going to go with Clemson. I got it 21-10. I'm going to go with a conservative number this week. I'm going to let the offense try to reach that number. I think the defense steps up this week and really plays good with a home crowd behind it. Now we're going to go to our last game, and when we do this, I'm going to sneak off and grab some folks for a taste test. Trevor's going to go over Louisville versus number 24 Wake. I'll be back in just a minute.
All right, folks. So we got Louisville at Wake Forest up in Winston-Salem. Wake Forest ranked for the first time this season.
Hard to believe.
4-0.
Yeah.
I don't say that. Hard to believe for a lot of people.
Big room, guys. We got a whole taste test. Everybody grab one of these. These are from the pound cake man here.
Classic orange, creamsicle, pumpkin. All right, you guys are the best. Thank you, Pound Cake.
You're welcome.
You gonna taste them?
And tell me what you think, guys. Tell me what you think. The camera's right over here.
That is the best cupcake I've ever had in my life.
Come on in, guys.
Really good, thank you. Delicious. These are not actors. These are real Clemson fans.
One bite, everybody knows the rules. Cool. You guys, everybody tell the camera what you think about the
Phenomenal.
Pound Cake.
Phenomenal.
Unsolicited, right
One
here.
bite. Everybody knows the rules. Phenomenal. Can't beat it. Best cupcakes in Clemson.
This is so great. Even the Boston fans love them.
You can't get anything like that in Alaska, for sure.
I'm gonna say these last three for me and Trevor.
Okay.
All right, so I was just talking about the Louisville at Wake Forest ranked for the first time this season, 4-0. I mean, we've talked about before, Dave Boston's done a tremendous job. He's kind of like the new Jim Grove.
Another
what
guy I
he's done
think
with Wake
is
Forest.
maybe up for that Stanford job.
Yeah,
I think that's a perfect job for him to go take.
He's incredible, and Sam Hartwell, we knew before the season he was going to be solid. So much experience. He's savvy. Rolled into Tallahassee, dominated Florida State at home a couple weeks ago, and then they rolled in last week, against Virginia and won big. I think Wake Forest they can keep it rolling, and they're going to go to 5-0.
I think you're right. I'm going to get 5-0. I think Louisville doesn't have the weapons to keep up with these guys right now. You got a balanced attack at Wake Forest, a great head coach, a great scheme. I think you see Wake Forest really fighting to get the ACC title this year. Right now, they're the guys that lead the whole clubhouse for the title. We got to go through Winston-Salem to get it this year.
Yeah, you talk about NC State, the ACC Atlantic race now wide open, like the Coastal always is. But you got NC State in the driver's seat, catbird seat now with the win over Clemson. They still have to play Wake, I think, on the road. They still have to play North Carolina. They've got some games ahead of them. I think they play at Miami, and so it's going to be interesting. Clemson could wind up three-way tie with Wake Forest, NC State, the Atlantic, or maybe if NC State drops 2 games, Clemson still wins the division outright. We'll see. But obviously, that Wake game against Clemson is going to be huge. What about you?
I think you got to go with Wake the way they've been playing. Louisville just still has so many questions. They're still so young, still in the new system, relatively new system. They just haven't gelled yet.
I got one more bonus just about to kick off.
Okay.
Put you guys on the spot. Yep. Tonight's game, Iowa, number 5, Big Bad, number 5 Iowa, top 5 for the first time since 2015, on the road in the Snake Pit at Burt Stadium against the Maryland Terps, who are 4-0.
Wow, that's an interesting fact there. And
With Tua Tagovailoa's little brother.
Yeah, and Mike Locksley ahead of
Right.
the
Right.
Not one of my favorite people in the recruiting business, to be honest with you. But I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to go with Iowa taking that game at Maryland. I think they're just too big up front, and I think they impose themselves on Maryland.
Yeah, when I used to do the coaching shows, the only time I ever got heckled was in Maryland. So I can't pull Maryland.
Fans are terrible.
I got to go with Iowa.
Yeah, I grew up in Maryland, and I know more than anybody what their fans are like. Clemson fans, don't miss them. Let's put it that way. Having them in the ACC. But that can be a surprisingly difficult. It's not a huge stadium, but it can be a difficult place to play. I don't know if I was there in 2011 when Clemson came back with Sammy Watkins. They were down 18. Had to rally. Yeah, Sammy Watkins and the boys rallied back to win. That was actually tied with Clemson for the second biggest Clemson comeback ever.
Virginia's
still number 1. But that Maryland game in 2011 is tied with BC last year when they came back from down 18 just before halftime. So that's a little interesting. But although having said all that about Maryland and their stadium and all that, I still think Iowa will pull out. It's going to be close though. I think it's going to be close. Iowa, I still think they're overrated. They haven't proven themselves, in my opinion. Iowa State, they've owned that rivalry, and that's really their biggest win this year. So I think they could get upset tonight, but I think Iowa sneaks one out.
All right, guys, that's it for tonight. We had a nice about hour-long show tonight, Trevor. Had Jim Spiros on for the 1981 National Championship. Pound Cake Man, Jeff Bennett, my man from here in Clemson, he's been here. And
by the way, one last note, Tigers still have, they've snapped all those other streaks, like I said, the top 5 AP streak, top 10 AP streak, but they still have that 30-game home win streak, which is the longest active win streak in the country. They still got that on at stake tomorrow night. try to make it 31. If they do, it will tie them for 14th all-time longest home win streak with Yale and Texas A&M.
Wow, listen to that little trivia point. Hey guys, about 5 minutes away, Tiger-Rama kicks off in the stadium tonight. We'll have all the skits from all the sororities and fraternities. Homecoming this weekend. Be sure to visit Bowman Field tomorrow. It's a 7:30 p.m. kickoff. We'll be tweeting. Me and Trevor will be at the stadium in the press box. This man will be manning a camera. We know he'll be there. So we'll all three be sitting up on that level tweeting and Facebooking out. But don't forget, visit the Pound Cake Man. Grab you some great desserts. Order them. He'll deliver them right here within a 5-mile radius. And guys, as always, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.